Our I can statement is I can explain and apply the rules for multiplying integers. Take a look at the incomplete table and try and notice some patterns. What patterns do you see? So, if we look at the number that is being multiplied by 5, it is decreasing by 1. So we go from 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and so on. And we can also see that as we decrease the number multiplying 5 by 1, we are decreasing the product by 5. So 15, 10, 5, and 0. So if we extend this pattern, 0 subtract 5 is going to be negative 5. And 5 times negative 2, well, negative 5 subtract 5 is negative 10. Well, the cool thing about this is that it helps us to notice that if we have a positive number multiplied by a negative number, that our answer is going to be negative. Let's take a look at this next example. We can use what we learned in the previous table to help us start to fill in the top part. So we know a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative result. And 5 times 3 is 15. So our answer is going to be negative 15. So let's complete the top part of the table. So I filled in the top part of the table based on the information we know about a negative multiplied by a positive. So we have negative 15, negative 10, negative 5, and 0. So the numbers are increasing by 5. And I want you to take a moment to think about that. In my number line that I've just drawn in, as we move from negative 15 to negative 10, we are moving in the positive direction. So we are increasing by 5 each time. So if we continue that pattern, 0 plus 5 is going to be positive 5, and 5 plus 5 more is going to be positive 10. So what we can see from this is that if we have a negative multiplied by a negative, the result is a positive answer. So take a minute to fill in the table. Pause the video and then start it up again when you're ready to check your answers. So, here's the complete table. A positive multiplied by a positive, this is what we learned in elementary school, it's going to stay positive. A positive times a negative or a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative result, and a negative times a negative gives us a positive. So a pattern that might be helpful to notice is that if you're multiplying the same sign, so in this case positive times positive and negative times negative, then the answer will be positive. But if you're multiplying by two different signs, then the answer will be negative. So that can be helpful whenever you're multiplying two numbers. All right, go ahead and pause the video, try these 3 examples, then we'll go over the answers together. For number 5, we are multiplying a negative by a positive. So that means that my final answer needs to have a negative sign. And 12 times 3 is 36. So my final answer is negative 36. With number 6, I have a negative times a negative. So I know I'm going to have a positive answer. And 12 times 3 is 36. So positive 36. For number 7, I have a positive times a negative. So that tells me that I'm going to have a negative as my answer and 36 yet again. So you can see that we have 2 examples where we get the same answer. The first one is negative, the second one is positive, and then we switch the order. Now, something to note here. We have 3 different notations for multiplication in these examples. So if you have a number that's in front of parentheses and there's no other operation indicated, we know that that's a multiplication problem, like in problem number 5. The big dot that we see here in problem number 6 also indicates multiplication, and then the X or the cross that we're familiar with from elementary is another way to indicate multiplication. So all 3 of these symbols represent multiplication. Let's try a story problem. It says a glacier is melting at a rate of 34 cubic miles each year. What integer represents the change in the glacier's volume over 10 years? Well, one of the keywords we want to pay attention to is the word melting. Think to yourself, does this indicate a positive or an increasing value, or a negative or decreasing value? If you said negative, you are correct. So the rate that it is melting is negative 34 cubic miles each year. Now, we want to know the change in the glacier's volume over 10 years, so we're going to multiply that rate for 1 year by 10. And we're going to end up with negative 340 cubic miles. Another key phrase to pay attention to where it says what integer, that's a hint that the sign or positive and negative in our answer is important. Okay, so the correct answer is not 340 cubic miles, it is negative 340 cubic miles. So make sure you pay attention to the sign as well as the units for your answer. Okay, the next examples, we're going to find the product of 3 terms. So remember, anytime we're multiplying or adding or subtracting or dividing, we always want to do the first 2, and then the resulting product, we're then going to multiply by the third number. So in this case, we're going to start by multiplying 6 and negative 3. Positive times negative is negative. 6 times 3 is 18. So that's the product of the first 2 numbers in my number sentence. Okay, and then I'm going to do negative 18 multiplied by negative 2. Negative times negative is positive. 18 times 2 is 36, so positive 36 is my final answer for this one. Go ahead and pause the video, try number 10 on your own. All right, let's take a look at number 10. Negative 2 times negative 3 is going to be positive 6 because negative times negative equals a positive. Then I'm going to do 6 times negative 4. Positive times negative is a negative. 6 times 4 is 24. So my final answer for this one is negative 24. As a reminder, you can always start the video over, pause, re-listen to the sections that you need help on, but hopefully this helps you to better understand the rules for multiplying integers.